let's move on to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 4 recap. Spoiler-filled recap. It's just fresh in my mind, so let's just start right from the top. I'm going to go through the episode. We open where we left off, but with a deeply character-driven, dramatic flashback moment. Okay, that we didn't see before, but just when we can jump back and like see an actual big character point moment for a character, we got to see when Bucky actually stopped being brainwashed by Hydra. All of what Wakanda helped him get through, they fixed him and made him himself. They freed him, basically, was how they put it here, and it's the perfect way to put it. And some people, by the way, were confused about who actually showed up at the end of the last episode. It is not Okayu. Okayu. Sometimes I never mispronounce M'Baku because it's my favorite. He's my favorite. I love saying M'Baku. M'Baku. Awesome fucking name for a character. But I do sometimes mispronounce him. Also, I love how Bucky. He's almost like an honorary Wakandan. He lived there. He's literally referred to as White Wolf by them, by Wakandans and by Ayo. By the way, it's Ayo is the character, not okay. Okay. Shit. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing. It's Ayo is the character. We've seen her in all the movies that she's been, like all the Wakandan base she's been in. She actually first appeared in Civil War when T'Challa first appeared. She was T'Challa's bodyguard. I think I mentioned that last week. It is no surprise that the Dorma Malaji, that's who the Wakandan police are, the chicks with spears. The Dorma Malaji is. It's no surprise they're showing up and getting involved in this because they have a personal vendetta or responsibility to keep Zemo locked up, because Zemo killed the prior king of Wakanda. Don't ever forget that. Zemo framed Bucky and actually was the person who killed T'Challa's father and the former king of Wakanda, King T'Chaka. And so there's a big, obviously they feel obligated to keep that man locked up. So it does not surprise me at all that they are in this episode, and they're very much in this episode. I mean, just the way we start the episode in Wakanda, seeing the moment when Ayo helped Bucky actually stop being, she says the words and he doesn't, he actually just breaks down crying, just afraid that it's gonna happen. And it doesn't happen, and then it turns into fucking in one swift, fucking dramatic moment. It goes from tears of fear to tears of joy, literally, and he's free. And it's a beautiful scene. It's a beautiful opening to this episode. And from there, we come right back to where we left off, literally right where we left off. And I love how Ayo literally refers to him as White Wolf. She gives him just enough. She says, "I'll give you 8 hours." And then we intervene, because Bucky convinces her enough that Zemo, they need to use him for this at the moment. You can't trust Zemo. Even Daniel Bruhl, who plays, I lost the name for a second there. Even Daniel Bruhl, who plays Zemo, said you cannot trust Zemo, and we cannot trust Zemo. And by the way, at the end of the episode, where the fuck is Zemo? Where did he go? Because he's gone. All of a sudden, he's gone. So yeah. But Bucky. People might not pick up on it, but I like. There's a moment when Bucky speaks Wakandan to Ayo, and she kind of has this little smirk on her face, and I think it's because it implies that she obviously taught him Wakandan. How to speak Wakandan, and it's kind of like a little subtle, like, oh, your Wakandan's gotten better, and like she was a little impressed in that moment. But dude, so this episode really just expands on what it's been building upon, I feel like every episode kind of gets better. This is the best episode so far, and it really raises the stakes even more because it plays. The whole episode is playing with one question: what does a super soldier and the shield of Captain America represent to different people? What does it mean to different people? And this whole global repatriation. Fuck, dude, what's the C? Every week I forget one of the words. God damn it. And then there's like a new one now. There's a new pact that they made. Basically, this whole thing about governments kicking people out of their homes to make room for people who reappeared. This whole thing about like pushing aside people who didn't get blipped away for so that people who returned could have a life again. It's just a classic case of like discrimination, basically in a new form in the MCU. This is a new and current form of discrimination, and no one's going to relate to that more than black people in America, obviously. So that phone call was great. The phone call between Carly and Sarah Wilson, Sam's sister, was very powerful. But this idea they play with about what the serum represents and what it does to people. This whole thing about this very poetic moment here, where one of Carly's cronies is talking about how he was a big fan of Captain America growing up and what Captain America represented to him and meant to him. Like that there can be actual good people in this world, decent people standing for the right things. And it's very poetic that that same guy is fucking killed by the new Captain America. And it just shows the contrast. It just shows a huge contrast and why John Walker is not. He may be something. He may be something. He may have a symbol. He may have a moniker. He may have a role to play in things, but he is not. He is not Captain America. He is very much not Captain America. And by the way, what the serum, this whole thing about what the serum does, it's not a new thing. It might seem like a new thing where like the serum, it makes people go crazy or it makes people lose control. That is not actually a new thing. It's not that it makes you lose control. The doctor who created it in the first place, Dr. Erskine, who created Steve Rogers, who created Captain America in the first Captain America movie ever, described it best when he said the serum amplifies what's inside. He said good becomes great and bad becomes worse, right? And that was and at that time the contrast was Steve and Red Skull. Steve became obviously just who he is, even more. The serum amplified this good man into more of a good man, just someone with actual control over what he, and Red Skull was a bad guy who just became worse. And the serum makes you worse if you're bad. So what does it do to someone who's caught in the middle of things, where they're fighting for something good, but in order to achieve it, they have to do extreme things? That's Carly. So she's corrupted by the serum because she's uncertain of how to handle her responsibility. And that is a very, very, really important thing to play with. Because it's a whole new... And they don't just play with it with her, they play with it with John. Because here comes a big moment in this series, in this overall storyline, where John Walker, up to this point, did not have super soldier powers. He was just a regular soldier. I know I stopped going in order all of a sudden. Sorry, it just happens. Whatever. I said spoilers in the beginning, and that's all you need to know. They play with what would the serum do to someone like John, because John is just every time we see him now, he's just extremely aggressive, impatient, and it all has to do with the pressure of even carrying that shield around, right? But also we really dig into more what he went through in his time in the service, serving for his country. Like people give him these awards for things that they say were the right thing to do, but to him it didn't feel right in the moment. So then that is played with, now he's Captain America, and what feels right in the moment actually isn't right. So that's, and that is the contrast, right? That's a powerful parallel almost. There's a defining moment and the choice that he makes. It actually comes down to the initial choice that he makes, which kind of leads into the final choice he makes in this episode. He takes one of the serum, the vials of the serum, and he drinks it, and he now has super soldier powers. And that's nothing new. That in the comics, he also becomes a super soldier, and now he's a super soldier. He has the same powers as Captain America had, and now you have not only the shield, but the power of Captain America, and you're wielding both irresponsibly. It does come down to pressure. Do I think that he's a bad person? No. Do I think that he was caught up in a moment? Yes. Do I think that he can continuously be caught up in moments that corrupt him entirely? Yes. So it's going to really matter what he does going forward. Because he's either going to be a hero or he's going to be a fucking villain, dude. That's where we're at with John Walker. In this moment now, he takes the serum, right? He's doing his thing, and now he's kicking ass. And then his partner dies. It doesn't just die. Lamar Hoskins, Battlestar. Nice to know you. It was 2 seconds. There's a chance that, obviously, it's a superhero universe. He could come back in some way. But he might just be gone, and that could be it. Served his purpose, maybe. I don't know. But in this moment, Carly's the one who kills him. So it's a big moment for her and for John, because first of all, Carly is not trying to be a supremacist, as Zemo constantly in episode makes her out to be. But she's doing things that keep pushing her down that path. And in that moment, it's like a pinnacle of it. She kills someone who is actually pretty, like an innocent person, and she did it right in front of her own face. It's not like blowing up a building where you can't see these people. Like she straight out murdered Battlestar. The serum coursing through John's veins, I think in that moment it was kind of like a vengeance mixed with the serum moment that causes this big moment at the end where he kills Carly's crony. Straight out, like, aggressively murders him, like, brutally murders him. Blood on the shield, that is not Captain America. That image at the end, that is not the image of Captain America. It is the image of a false prophet, if you will. A betrayal, if you will. And it was filmed by people, it was seen publicly by people. The name of the episode is The Whole World Is Watching, and that is just, he just straight out destroyed the symbol of Captain America. He potentially corrupted the symbol of Captain America into basically what people who have been discriminated against by the the GRC Act. It's basically what they have seen that symbol to be now, what they think that symbol represents now. He just proved them right. He embodied this idea of governments oppressing people by doing what he did at the end. And it's not good. It is really not good. We get a couple cool action moments. We get Bucky and Bucky and Sam kicking ass, finally. Because I feel like, other than the first episode with Sam, they've been getting their asses beat, not kicking ass, and they were kicking ass in this one. It was cool to see that. Working together was cool to see. This idea of their partnership comes up and how that's growing. You can subtly see they'll expand on it, I'm sure, even further in final 2 episodes, but it's hinted at here that it is growing into an actual partnership. But also Sam I think him relating to Carly, that scene was the most powerful scene in the whole episode. That scene where he talks to Carly and relates to her and agrees with what she's trying to do, but just not the way that she's doing it, I think is everything that we've been building to thus far. Carly was just tossed aside by her government, right? Or Sam was too. Sam was supposed to be the next Captain America. He didn't believe anyone should be. And the government shit all over that and gave the shield to somebody. So just like our government does to black people in this country, they did it to Sam right in the worst possible kind of way they could have. That moment of relatability between Carly and Sam, and then it's expanded on later between Carly and Sarah, and those were the most powerful, dramatic story moments of this episode. And then just mixed in with a whole bunch of action. I loved the Dora Milaje scene where they're kicking butt. And John says it best, without super soldier powers, and they just kick ass always. And we learned that they have more control over Bucky's arm than he thought. Ayo just took it right off. Also appears that it's possible that Bucky's arm has similar powers to T'Challa's suit. We'll see if that comes to fruition at all. But just start to finish, one of the best episodes. It is the best episode so far. I think now that we're in the third act of this story, with 5 and 6, you'll just see a lot of concluding here. Concluding and setting up, obviously, for the future, because it's the MCU and it's one large storyline. So we'll see. And I know thus far you haven't been checking those post-credit scenes. You should definitely get ready to check that last episode's post-credit scene. It's not like WandaVision. I don't think there will be like 2 post-credit. It's just going to be 1. If they do 1, it'll be at the end of the 6th episode. So yeah, that is my recap of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 4, and it was my topic of the week.